Confucius, by contrast to the kinds of definitions of happiness we have in the West, Confucian philosophy sees happiness as a sort of a collective phenomenon. The fact that happiness, we are defined by the groups that we are in, our family, the societies that we live in, the companies that we are part of, and our relationships with those groups.
There are a lot of words related to happiness. Desire, pleasure,
Right.
hedonism, and the list goes on. So to Confucius, it's none of those words alone.
That, in fact, is one of the features that sort of contrast the Confucian notion of a good life with a sort of Western notion of a good life. So for Confucius, this notion of happiness is not merely a matter of physical, sensual pleasure, is more of a holistic kind of a situation where you live in conjunction with other human beings, and the sense of self is broader. So Western societies see the unit of culture as being the individual's freedom, the individual's autonomy, and the individual's ability to pursue the life that means something to them is paramount. Confucius saw the basic unit of society as the family. And in fact, the family, a healthy family and a cultured family was essential to the functioning of the state. The feeling of what the good life would be is not one of self-fulfillment, but of the total fulfillment of all those connections in your life.
Talking about happiness and the so-called individualism versus collectivism, you see research in the West flourishing about Confucius' version of happiness.
Yes, in fact, one of the most popular courses at Harvard right now is a course in Chinese philosophy. They have hundreds of students take the course, and they say it changes their life. One of the aspects of Confucianism that's hardest to convey for a lot of students is this notion of ritual. Confucius' notion of ritual was a totalistic sort of notion of ritual. And in fact, his realization is something that's helping a lot of foreigners in the West develop a better system of explaining morality, of the moral system of humankind. And that ritual is a part of it. If you stop and think about it, everything in your life is ritual, is accompanied by ritual. We think of ritual like someone saluting a soldier or ritual bowing, but actually the way you use your body in everyday life and the way you use your face and your head all convey the different kinds of connectedness that we have. You remember in the Confucius classics, they talk a lot about how the master sat, how he placed his mat, how he drank his tea, and so forth. These are not little things. So for example, how we use our heads. If I'm talking to you on the internet, you can't really see this. But when we're talking here, if I say, Tianwei, did you send me that file that you were supposed to the other day? I'm pointing a finger at you and I'm looking right at you. It's almost like I'm a superior, right? If I'm saying, Tianwei, did you send me that file that I asked for the other day? My head is bowed, and I'm expressing either equality or a kind of a subservience to you, which can negotiate the connection between us and make it very clear. One of the reasons we're so unhappy now is we're doing all these interactions online where you can't see the ritual gestures, the pat on the back, the hug, sometimes this kind of thing. It helps how you said, that's very good, it's correct, but it's augmented when I say, that's very good, that's correct. There's a kind of a happy dopamine rush when you get this, right? Probably one of the biggest influences of Confucianism now in the West, as people are beginning to reimagine it, are certain kind of cross-cultural studies. Moral philosophy is a very hot topic right now. And part of the reason for that is we're experiencing this conflict in the West, and particularly in the United States, with opposing forces on two sides that have different moral systems. If you look at issues like abortion, if you look at issues like capital punishment, at issues like racism and so forth, there's this notion of how do we see these moral issues spelled out in a society where we have to reach some kind of consensus. And this is not something that a lot of Western philosophy and Western frameworks have a good handle on. We tend to see people as maximize the happiness of the individual and all the other things will fall into place. And we're finding out that that is absolutely not the case. Maximizing the happiness of the individual results in schisms, in conflicts, and just absolutely unmendable conflicts that lead to violent conflict and war. So people are now trying to study what is a more optimal way of ordering a society that starts from different principles, and that starts from a basic kind of a ritualistic shows of goodwill that can, first of all, set the tone for a sort of a peaceful kind of collaboration and compromise, which is so important in ritual, right? A lot of it is compromising your own status, your sense of self-worth, and so for the benefit of the other person.